Live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 125, and around the world on myjoyonline.com. This is Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Kaloni. Coming up, hired in the public sector after December 7, 2024, your appointment has been revoked. We will share the Chief of Staff's annulment order as affected. Individuals have just 1 week before the decision to take effect. Also in this bulletin, we perform a vulnerability test on the health sector, which depends heavily on aid and donor support, looking at how a freeze on U.S. aid could challenge the NDC's pledge to scrap taxes on betting, the economic transfer levy, and possible the COVID-19 levy. And Speaker of Parliament to organize prayers in the chambers of Parliament to exorcise spirits of disorder among MPs following recent chaos at appointment committee.
I thank the organizers and I grant them the permission that the next prayer meeting should be held.
We have details plus more on a very busy day on the floor of the House. Let's begin from the presidency because the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, has directed the cancellation of all public sector appointment and recruitment made after December 7, 2024 general election, citing non-compliance with good governance principles. In a letter to heads of government institutions, he emphasized that such late-term appointment contradict the government stance on end of tenure requirement. He instructed institutions to annul these appointments immediately and submit a report on actions taken to the office of the Chief of Staff February 17, 2025. There you have that particular statement on your screen, and it reads, consistent with the government's pronouncement in relation to near end of a tenure appointment and recruitment, I wish to bring to your attention that all appointment and recruitment made in the public services of Ghana after 7th December 2024 were not in compliance with established good governance practices and principles. Accordingly, all heads of government institutions are hereby requested to take the necessary steps to annul any such appointment or recruitment and submit a comprehensive report on the actions taken to this office by 17th February 2025. Your cooperation in this matter is highly appreciated. Now, Felix Ofosokwache is the government spokesperson, and he joins us via phone. Let's hear him speak to us now.
At the very first meeting of the NDC side had cause to raise concern about the information we are receiving, to the effect that many government departments, ministries, and agencies were engaged in what we refer to at the time as last-minute recruitment, or if you like, near end-of-term recruitments. What was striking about these recruitments was the sheer number, and also the fact that critical steps in the recruitment process were bypassed. We had information, for instance, that there were some people who had been recruited who did not even apply. Others did not go through any interview process. Others did not go through medical examination, which is a requirement in some places. And others yet received backdated appointment letters, which was meant to mislead people into believing that the appointments were made much earlier than they actually were. Now, having stumbled on this information, we reached the government side of the transition team and sought explanation. We also requested that they put these recruitments on hold and allow the incoming government to determine the vacancies, the requirements thereof, and how many of such people could be employed, bearing in mind the effect that it will have on our fiscal position as a government, especially because of the very serious economic challenges that we face. Now, our request was rebuffed the government of the day remained intransigent. They insisted that they had the power to do so, despite the obvious irregularities that the processes were fraught with. So, if you recall that on 17 December 2024, I issued a statement in my capacity as the spokesperson of the transition team for the NDC, in which I stated the position of the NDC side of the transition team, which was that if these recruitments did not stop, we will left with no option than to reverse them when eventually we took power. And so, having been in power, we have looked into the matter and found that our suspicions were actually true, and that many of these recruitments were done without recourse to due process. And they have been done in a manner that seeks to undermine the fiscal position and create dislocations within the budget. And so the Chief of Staff has sent word to all these ministries, departments, and agencies to actually reverse these recruitments, pending the use of due process to do any future recruitments that might be.
Now, the saying goes, when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. That's exactly Ghana's situation, as the government confirms the country risks losing $156 million in U.S. development assistance. The election of President Donald Trump has triggered a major shift in U.S. foreign policy, with a likely reduction in foreign aid following a 90-day review of U.S. aid operations. In response, President John Dramani Mahama has directed Finance Minister Dr. Kasia Lato-Forsen to take urgent measures to bridge the funding gap caused by the anticipated cut. Joy News Research has been analyzing the numbers, and lead data research analyst Isaac Kofi J joins me in studio. Kofi, what have you been finding out so far?
Well, so we understand that what government of Ghana placed in terms of U.S. aid request was somewhere roughly $140 million. But this evening we are getting updates from the presidency that, look, if this aid is paused and we do not get it, then they have revised their numbers. They're looking at somewhere $156 million. And this is what is at stake right now. But there is one sector that is really vulnerable to this whole huge amount you see on the smart screen, $156 million. But if you do the math and you break this down, you realize that just the health sector alone is taking more than half of the money that we might not be able to get. 78.2 million Ghana cedis is what will be at stake if U.S. decide not to, come again with the U.S. aid in 2025 and beyond. So we decided to do a vulnerability test with the health sector. But even before we come to the tax exemptions and what Ghana is forgoing and what Ghana is crying over, the health sector, if you look at their budget, the health sector's budget or the health ministry's budget, about 18 to 20% of the ministry's budget depends on donor support. It means that if the U.S. decide to pull this plug, that means that this is a health sector that will be in crisis. That is why we understand that the president has actually released or commanded, or let's say instructed the finance minister to go and find help to close the gap. Now we are looking at what Ghana is forgoing. Although we are crying over $156 million, the government has insisted that 3 taxes, which they call draconian or nuisance taxes, must go. So what we decided to do is to go into the 2024 budget and look at the indicative numbers and see how much we'll be getting from these taxes in 2025. Somewhere $258 million for the COVID-19 levy, the biggest of all. E-levy is around $76 million, and betting and gaming tax roughly around $110 million. If you add all of this, we're looking at this big figure on the smart wall, $544 million. See, we are crying over $156 million.
Exactly.
But we are forgoing somewhere $544 million. So this chart on the smart wall tells you what Ghana is crying over and what the current government is planning to forgo. But we understand that this could be a relief to the people of Ghana, and there could be other alternatives. So interesting times ahead. We'll see how government communicates to the IMF on how to close this revenue gap. And then also,
maybe they're going to introduce it through other windows.
Let's see. We wait to see.
All right. Thank you so much, Kofi, for speaking to us here on Join Us right now. President John Mahama has urged members of his 120-day social contract task force to work diligently to ensure that his promises for the first 120 days in office are fulfilled. Speaking at the inaugural meeting of the task force, he stated that the majority of its members who are ministers were included because many of the promises fall directly under their mandate. In the run-up to the election, President Mahama made several commitments that he pledged to fulfill within his first 120 days in office. These include scrapping nuisance taxes such as the e-levy, the betting tax, and others.
Of course, several of these things are sectoral, and so it was not possible to conduct this meeting before the ministers of the various sectors had been vetted and sworn in. And so now that you've been sworn in, of course, some background work has been taking place quietly. And now that you've been sworn in, this meeting is meant to focus sectorally on the things that fall within your sectors. And that's why you've been chosen, because many of those issues are within the sectors that you are ministers of, so that we can hone in and make sure that we achieve them on targets. Some are 90 days, some were 14 days. Assemble a full cabinet within 14 days, we achieved that. And then some are within 90 days. Others necessarily must go with some things. For instance, the removal of some taxes and rationalization of taxes can only be in the budget, because you need to do revenue measures and put those tax instruments before Parliament. So all of you are supposed to focus on your sectors and work so that we achieve all the targets that we set ourselves in the 120-day plan. The Senior Presidential Advisor on Governmental Affairs is the chair and leading that effort. So you have to work closely with her so that we can make sure that we are faithful to the mandate that the people of Ghana gave us. And so that's the purpose for this meeting. I congratulate you again. And we'll now discuss the nitty-gritty and look at where we have reached. Some of the things like the National Economic Dialogue, the Planning Committee is working on. The Constitutional Review, we've set up the committee, and so that work is happening. The Minister of Education, who was amongst the earliest to be sworn in, has already moved quite fast with the issue of the National Educational Review. And so for those of you who were sworn in later, look into your sector ministries and the promises that we made, and then work as quickly as possible with the Senior Presidential Advisor on Governmental Affairs to be able to achieve those targets we've set ourselves.
Okay. Painstaking calculation and consideration of various permutations to ensure they are viable, doable, and sustainable. We know your word is your bond, and will betide anyone who stands in the way of the performance of your promises to the people of Ghana. So therefore, we pledge to use our utmost endeavors to ensure that we perform on the mandates that you have given us. We will not fail you, we will not fail the people of Ghana, and God be our helper. Thank you.
Now, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejeri, says the government has made progress with the establishment of the Women's Development Bank and is confident that some specific taxes will be scrapped.
I'm also working together with the Minister for Gender to work on the Women's Bank. Okay. So that one is also something that is coming up. And then the big thing, the free apprenticeship program. You recollect that GEA has that mandate. That's the Ghana Enterprises Agency. So Excellency has mandated me, together with the Minister for Employment, to work together to ensure that that program is launched as soon as possible, so that we will get our youth who are interested in the free apprenticeship to take advantage of the program.
Okay. Before you go, the Women's Bank, that promise resonated with a lot of people on the campaign trail. Want to find out how close is the government towards the realization of this promise?
Very, very close. Extensive discussion has gone on in respect of the Women's Bank. I can say that the Women's Bank discussion took a bulk of our time, because Excellency is poised. he's really willing to make sure that the Women's Bank comes on stream. And so the plans that even went on in there, I can say is far advanced, and very soon we'll see issues of the Women's Bank come up strongly.
Now, the Minister for Youth Development, George Opariado, is assuring the youth that nuisance taxes, including the betting tax, will be scrapped.
About 3 of them: the National Apprenticeship Program, the Ejumera Program, and partly the CODES Program, the 1 million CODES Program. It is young people that will be trained to undertake these programs. And so these 3 programs specifically falls within the mandate of the Ministry for Youth Development and Empowerment.
Yeah. And we know you've been in office for just some days. Do you think we're making progress in that regard?
We've made a lot of progress. Yesterday I presented a working paper to Dr. Valerie Saya on how we intend to go about implementing and launching some of these programs. And so clearly we are making a lot of progress, and I want to assure everyone that we'll meet the 120-day targets His Excellency has set for the good people of this country.
Okay, great. What about aside from the one that comes directly under your ministry, what about the other ones? You think this government is making progress in that regard?
When we did a 30-day mandate, you realize that a lot of the things we promised in the manifesto that we're going to do have already commenced. And so clearly, we've ticked the boxes, we know what we have to do, and I want to believe strongly that everybody around that table is committed to seeing to that vision of His Excellency President Mahama. And so we will definitely meet the targets come the 120 days. And on that day, we'll have a ceremony where we'll be ticking the boxes and telling Ghanaians what we promised and what we've delivered.
Okay. This one doesn't fall directly under your mandate, but it's something a lot of the young people are looking forward to. That's the scrapping of the nuisance taxes, particularly the betting tax.
When the budget is read somewhere in March, all the promises we made in respect to cancellation of taxes will be effected through the budget. And young people should look forward to the cancellation of the betting tax.
Well, it's a good time to take you to Parliament because the minority in the House have described as illegal the decision by the Roads and Highways Ministry to suspend the implementation of the National Road Authority Act. The act merged Ghana Highway Authority, the Department of Urban Roads, and the Department of Feeder Roads. But a few weeks into its implementation, the new Roads and Highways Minister, Kwame Agboja, caused the suspension of the act last week. Delivering an urgent statement on the floor of the House, former chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee, an MP for Akim Swedro, demanded urgent action from Parliament to remedy what he described as an illegal act.
Mr. Speaker, the subject is suspension of the implementation of the National Roads Authority Act 2024, Act 1118. Mr. Speaker, this is an act which was passed by this House in July 2024. Mr. Speaker, Article 93(2) makes it clear, and the authority or the legislative powers is vested in the hands of this House. Mr. Speaker, it is an illegal attempt by the ministry to suspend an act which has been passed by Parliament without any recourse of the House. If the ministry has any issue with the act, the best remedy or the procedure they have to take is to come to the House.
Now, Roads and Highways Minister Kwame Agboja offered a rationale for his decision. He explained the act has caused significant unrest among agencies under his ministry.
The bill has been passed and assented to. Its implementation has generated significant unrest between the entities under the ministry, feeder roads, urban roads, and highways. I had the opportunity to meet at Deba with all the agencies. The conclusion is that we suspend the implementation and carry out further consultation with them with respect. Mr. Speaker, for instance, they raise issue about who becomes the head of NRA. Currently, as we speak, Mr. Speaker, the Director of Urban Roads is now the acting Chief Director. He still holds on to the position because he hasn't handed over to anybody as the substantive director. At the same time, they are complaining that it should be clear as to whether only one entity can have the leadership of NRA, i.e. whether urban roads or feeder roads. So we are saying that we suspend the implementation for now and then carry out this. And it's a popular decision there. Mr. Speaker, I am surprised my good friend is speaking this way. Mr. Speaker, the fact that laws are passed by this House, its implementation is the responsibility of the entity that sponsored it. As we speak, road toll is still a law on our books, but its implementation has been suspended. It's just 2 weeks that you have been in there, a month that you have done this. I'm not saying we are replicating what you have done. Mr. Speaker, there's no ill motive with this. It's basically to make it work better for the people who the law has been made for. So I appreciate him raising the issue, but maybe he would have realized that in few weeks' time, I was going to engage the Committee of Road and Transport in Parliament if it's properly so formed.
Meanwhile, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has directed the Road Minister to deal with the concerns raised immediately.
The only thing that the maker of the statement says is that if you have that kind of challenge, come back to Parliament. We had a similar one with the road tolls, as the minister drew our attention to. We called on the then minister, it's the same ministry, and it was ignored. That is a precedent that should not be followed. Because that time, those on my right were to my left. And it was raised by them. And we said the then minister was wrong. Today, those on my left are on my right. The same thing has happened. It's only that the road toll one was being implemented, and they suspended the implementation of the road toll. It caused a lot of problems. You know about the petitions that came from the workers there and all those things. They started talking about even financial loss to the state and all those things. This one is a new law that is being implemented. You have met challenges. I don't even understand why the publication. Because if you got the challenges, and the challenges have to deal with the law, the only place that can amend the law or revise the law or upgrade it is Parliament. It's Parliament, not any other place. And so it's an issue that I will refer to the minister to go and handle.
Let's stay a bit longer in Parliament because Speaker of the House, Alban Bagbin, says the next annual prayer meeting to be held in Parliament must be organized in the Chamber of Parliament to exercise any spirit of disorder among MPs. According to Alban Bagbin, there must be something in the chamber that lead MPs to conduct themselves the way they do while in Parliament. On the floor today, the Minister for Health was also instructed to update the House on a number of public health emergencies across the country. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwasanti reports.
The House started this morning on a very turbulent note with the NPP side raising a matter of quorum. At the time, the House did not have the requisite number to proceed and deal with business. They haggled over that until there was some resolution. But as that was happening on the floor, the Speaker of Parliament was meeting clergy in his first breakfast meeting, at which he has been suggesting that perhaps the next prayer meeting should be held on the floor of Parliament to exorcise the spirit of disorder among members of Parliament.
I thank the organizers, and I grant them the permission that the next prayer meeting should be held on the floor of Parliament. There may be something inside there that has to be exorcised. We will not take it for granted. We'll get inside there and get it out. Where I sit, and these great men and women come to me in private, the way they present themselves is different from what they do inside. And so I keep on thinking, what is inside there?
Back on the floor, meanwhile, Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin delivered a statement on the cholera outbreak in his constituency.
The central government must immediately intervene to save lives. The people are suffering. It's been reported that 412 cases of outbreak of cholera in the Futu municipality has taken 3 lives.
The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, who was presiding, Bernard Ahiafo, directed Health Minister Kwabena Minta Kando to brief the House on the cholera outbreak, meningitis outbreak, as well as a number of public health emergencies that have been reported on and statement delivered on the floor of Parliament.
For health to appear before the House within 1 week to brief the House on all the health issues raised on the floor. Speaker, I so direct. I just contacted the minister. He's on the field in monitoring the situation, so he'll be here on the 18th if the House would. I've taken all those things into consideration in asking that he should appear before us within 1 week.
Very well. We are guided.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, away from Parliament, chaos erupted at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly as police blocked aspirant Musa Ziyad from entering the polling center, forcing Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu to use an alternative route. More on this story when we return from this break. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. Now, chaos erupted at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly as police blocked aspirant Musa Ziyad from entering the polling center, forcing Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu to use an alternative exit. Musa Ziyad and 2 other candidates later withdrew. Despite the tension, Nene Drolo Boso Adamte I won the Greater Accra Council of State seat with 40 votes, defeating former MP Ni Afote Agbo Laye.
That was the scene at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly Hall during the Council of State election. Tensions flared when police officers blocked aspirant Musa Ziyad from entering the polling station with his executives. Caught in the midst of the confusion, Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu was forced to use the exit to gain access. Musa Ziad later withdrew from the race, along with 2 other candidates. But what could have led to this decision?
I have 2 reasons why I want to withdraw from the race. One is political. I have my senior colleague, who is Afute Agbo. I mean, I can't contest with a senior colleague like that. So I decided to withdraw out of it. I mean, when we were filing, I didn't see his name.
Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, downplayed the chaos.
Losing election is not an easy thing. I've lost an election before. If you lose, if care is not taken, somebody went to the polling venue with his vehicle. When he lost, he forgot that he brought a vehicle. He was going home. And they had to call him. They said, oh, Anabo, you came with a car. The car is here. Before he came for the car. So once elections is taking place and somebody has lost, it's not easy to lose an election. If you don't act, your supporters can do anything.
Once calm was restored, Regional EC Director Gladys Pinkra declared the winner.
By the power vested in me by the Electoral Commission, I declare the throne of Boso without any effects as a Greater Accra representative of the Council of State.
The remaining 7 candidates had 0 votes. Collins Frimpong for Joy News.
Now, in the Ashanti region, some supporters of the chief of Agric in Zima, Nana Nkansa Boadu, are anticipating their candidate will be declared winner of the Council of State election. A group of thugs believed to be aligned to the NDC there, but Joy News is unable to confirm whether the counting started after sorting the ballot. Yao Obimpe disrupted the process, which was at the sorting stage. Nana Ojima's report from there.
The police team deployed for the election was led by the Ashanti Regional Commander, DCOP Frank Abrokwa. Some of the officers were stationed at the entrance of the residency of the Regional Coordinating Council, where the election was held. They screened and turned away persons who were not accredited to be at the premises. It was the first point that our cameras caught the thugs who were challenging the authority of the police. One of the 12 candidates for the election, Frederick Ejay, explained the EC restricted delegation of each of the candidates.
Because the EC made it clear to us that each aspirant should come with 4 agents, and the 4 agents, they are going to be allowed to enter the premises. So I don't know where. I even came around, I saw the metro men around. I don't know where they came from. I don't know how they were able to enter because, you know, a lot of policemen were around. I mean, security personnel were around. Even my driver, they didn't allow my driver to enter. And I accepted because the EC said 4 people together with the candidates is going to be allowed to enter the premises.
The thugs were later seen at the inner perimeter where the election was held, though they had no accreditation. Former Municipal Chief Executive of Obuasi, Oforiajiman, was seen with the thugs. They approached the candidates' tents to offer handshake to the NDC Regional Chairman, Nana Kwesi, and another candidate, Yao Obimpe, a former chairman of the party. It was at the sorting stage where these thugs disrupted the process. It is alleged the NDC former chair, Yao Obimpe, was losing the election, leading to the disruption.
In the course of the sorting, we saw that the metro men invaded. You know, there were some barricades. So the metro men invaded, and then the chaos started. Everything was disrupted. What they saw, maybe they thought that maybe it may not go in their favor, so they had to, you know, evade. And I think this is very, very bad. This is very bad because looking at how far we've come, how our democracy, we've grown to get to this point, and it's still, anytime we conduct election, we don't, you know, experience this kind of peaceful election. It is very bad.
The men later followed the EC to forcibly take away the polling materials salvaged and destroyed them. Leading candidates among the 12 are former chairman of the NDC, Yao Obimpe, and member of NPP's Council of Elders, Nana Nkansa Boadu. Prior to the election, the process was characterized by partisan politics. It is speculated that the candidates paid money to the delegates. For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Away from the Ashanti region, Paramount Chief of the Yeji Traditional Council and former President of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, Pimapim Yao Kagrese V, emerged the winner in the Bono East Regional Council as a state member poll. Anas Sabit has more in the following report.
The Council of State elections, originally scheduled to start at 7 o'clock a.m., kick-started at about 11:30 a.m. due to the late in the arrival of the delegates. The 11 candidates who waited anxiously had divergent views with regards to the starting time, with some expressing disappointments at a huge delay to the commencement of the exercise.
You see, the time is 7 o'clock, and here we are. The president has promised Ghanaians to give the Ghanaians a resetting agenda, and then building the Ghana that we all want. I don't think with this attitude we are getting there.
I've been here for more than 2 hours, and I'm bothered. I wonder why this should take us so long. This exercise should have been done so fast that other people would go to do other works for themselves.
Voting started at about 11:30 a.m. after the candidates were given the opportunity to share their visions with the 22 delegates who were all seated at the time. One after the other, they were called to cast their ballots, and at the close of polls, the Paramount Chief of the Yeji Traditional Council and former President of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs, Pimapim Yao Kagrese V, emerged as the winner after polling 11 of the total votes cast. 76-year-old Pimapim Yao Kagrese V disclosed to the media his utmost priority of solving the numerous chieftaincy disputes across the region.
Let's now head to the Upper West region, where 67-year-old Michael Kwame Mumuni won the election there. Rafiq Salam report.
22 delegates drawn from the 11 municipal and districts in the Upper West region decided the fate of the 11 persons who have filed to contest the Council of State elections. Before voting started, Upper West Regional Minister Posun Charles Luwanga delivered a brief speech to the delegates and the candidates on the need to accept the outcome of the elections.
Your duty is to select somebody for us, so you do soul searching as well as make a decision of yourself, and ultimately Upper West will win.
10 of the candidates who were present were each given 5 minutes to campaign and share their vision with the voters. In the end, 67-year-old Upper West Regional Vice Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Michael Kwame Mumuni believers, roamed to victory with 8 out of the 22 votes.
My priority is to look at our roads here. That's my first thing. And look at our dams. That's my second priority. Education too is part of one.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Away from the elections, legal practitioner Martin Pebo has stated that while some cases presented to the president by the Operation Recover All Loot or team will be processed for court immediately, others may take longer due to insufficient evidence needed to proceed. 2,714 cases were presented by oral to the president yesterday and have so far sparked some reactions from the minority. However, Mr. Kwebu says some of these cases are just tip-offs from citizens and would require more attention for evidence gathering. He made these remarks in an interview with Sweetie Abochi on the AM show.
And the number of cases you represented to the president, do we have the capacity to deal with this Herculean legal task, would you say?
Oh, absolutely, we do. We do. Let's also note that naturally, in the scheme of things, you can't have all the 2,417 and counting cases all going to court within 4 years. No, it's not possible. So let me explain how it works. When you hear the figure 2,417 and counting, it's not all of them that we have all the full facts and can immediately begin to get excited that this case will go to court soon. No, some of them are leads. So let's say if we take National Cathedral, that one, you see that there's a lot of material on it, even in the public domain. So National Cathedral is a case that it would ordinarily be easier to go to court. But some go in the nature of tips. So let's say Kojo Brace. For example, if the person says, oh, look at Joy FM, I think something is going on wrong. They have too many cars, or they are putting up too many buildings. That one is not a case that straight away you say, oh, you have a case to go to court. It means you now have to go and sit back, begin to analyze what the person is saying, and it will take time to be able to unravel such a case.
Now, a former Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Chiayibua, has expressed his support for prosecuting individuals found guilty of looting state property, but only if the oral team's findings are backed by strong evidence rather than rumors.
My initial thinking is very simple. There is a clear distinction between mere complaints and complaints with evidence. If it is about rumors that people have peddled and have reported, then I'll be disappointed. But if it's about genuine complaints backed with evidence, then we are all in for it. So these are my initial thoughts.
Are you saying that if it turns out that all these cases are actually backed by evidence, you would not be disappointed?
The fact is that as a nation, before I agree that we must fight graft, we must fight corruption. But as a nation also, we must not use propaganda or rumors to defame the hard-won integrity of others. And so if there's any case against any person and there's evidence against that person, then the rule of law must certainly be observed. But it's any day step.
You're still watching the Joy News Prime with me, Carlos Caloni. We'll take a short break. We'll return with Showbiz. Well, it's time for Showbiz, and Becky is all here, smiling.
Hello
what do we have?
Well, we have Dark Sabbath in the news. Kankan Bizim, the lead vocalist of Ghana's alternative rock band, Dark Sabbath, believes the country's music industry is struggling to reach its full potential. According to him, industry professionals are underestimating the technical and business capabilities available to them.
I think Ghanaian music industry is underestimating the technical capacity of technical space. Okay. The business capacity of business space. You know, musicians are now musical directors in music. No, it's business people, the experts. Like the experts handle and sell the talents. But it's become people who are not real experts handling expertise. And I keep arguing. You know, in some countries, music is a medical. Is used for medicine.
Tell me about it.
There are countries where music is used for medicine, like therapy. When you're sick, they have musical treatment. And when you understand that, you know that then if something has the power to heal, it has the power to destroy. Right. So governments should actually treat music and musicians like doctors. Okay. Don't just let anybody get up and say, I'm a doctor, because he can inject and say your head, you have a headache. No, it has to be a process. And that's what is lacking. And I'm not going to pretend I'm not a musician. That's why I'm a journalist. I just have musical talent. Okay. But the Ghanaian educational system is why I couldn't develop my musical talent. Limited, incapacitated me. And you see, even Ghana, how many schools are teaching music actively?
What would you advise moving forward? What would you advise that as an industry we do?
I think Ghana, you see, even for Agbobulushu, Fadama or Zongo, we realize that with the SDGs, you can tackle poverty, you can tackle portable water, You can tackle, let's say, justice for women. If you do not go and tackle education, which affects all of that, all these investments will fail. Right. We have to start with education in every industry and every field, and be honest with the people who say, I know. If you know, show us results. But Ghana and Africa, you know what we pay? Effort. Me 1 billion. Wait, meet him here. Then he takes it, then he starts, then he's making effort. Then the money is finished, you are not seeing results. Then when you want to say he bought, no, what do you think? Do you think you know that me? I have masters in glaucoma. Come on. So we need to be an honest country.
That's a bit right there. Let's move away from that. Let's talk about Prime Movie Box.
Right.
This evening, I have 2 movies that I think that you can watch during this period of celebrating love. There's Amachi Ndede, and there's also Aloe Vera. I'm trying to focus on our Ghanaian movies that you can...
so these are romantic movies?
These are
Ghanaian
romantic movies, yeah. These are our romantic movies. Love story brewed in the pot of Ghanaianness. So let's take the first trailer, Amachi Ndede. Well, so you've been briefed about that one, the movies that you should be looking out for this month, this love month. Also, we're exploring gift ideas here for someone special, or that special someone. So for the woman, you can, have something beautiful like this, a jewelry set, some flowers. Ghanaians will say that they are not, Ghanaian ladies will say that they're not interested in the roses, but well, you can give them a voucher, $100 voucher, gift voucher. That'll be nice. For the men, we have a few ideas for you as well. So you can get him any of those.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the shoes in there. So basically, you can also give your man $100 voucher. So that's
and we can even do Momo, right?
Well, Momo is very important. And also, what you can also give your partner this love season is to make sure that they're tuning to Joy News.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can equally go to myjoyonline.com. It's also a gift that you can give to your...
But before I mean, we wrap it all up. Whitney Houston, just giving you, today marks the day that she died. We're remembering her here. And we have a little performance by Efia. If David has that one.
That's all we have.
We will always love you here on the Joy News channel. We're grateful for your time.
We encourage you to log on to our website, myjoyonline.com, for more stories. My name is Carlos in the morning.
My name is Becky, and we will always love you.
Bye-bye.